Welcome back to what can only be described as the most chaotic digital circus unfolding on the internet right now, because the conversation around Claressa Shields has officially reached a level of public spectacle that feels almost unreal. What started as social media chatter has now evolved into a full-blown narrative storm, where every post, reaction, and rumor is being dissected under a microscope by an audience that seems both entertained and exhausted at the same time. At the center of this entire situation is Claressa Shields, a name that has long been associated with dominance in the boxing world. Yet online, the discussion has shifted far beyond sports achievements and into a tangled web of perception, personality, and public reaction. The internet, as always, has taken a single moment and stretched it into a larger-than-life storyline, where every detail is amplified, every action is questioned, and every response becomes fuel for further debate. It all began with a social media post that quickly spiraled into controversy. A caption filled with confidence, paired with an image that sparked immediate reactions, became the catalyst for an online wave that shows no signs of slowing down. Supporters saw it as a typical expression of self-belief and success. Critics, however, interpreted it in a very different way, framing it as a moment of poor judgment and misplaced messaging. As always, the truth lies somewhere in the middle, but the internet rarely deals in nuance once a narrative takes hold. What makes this situation even more intense is the involvement of other public figures, whose names have now become part of the wider conversation. Remy and Papoose, already established personalities in their own right, have found themselves pulled into a storyline that was never originally about them. And yet, in the age of viral commentary, no one remains completely outside the frame once public attention shifts in their direction. Welcome back to what can only be described as the most chaotic digital circus unfolding on the internet right now, because the conversation around Claressa Shields has officially reached a level of public spectacle that feels almost unreal. What started as social media chatter has now evolved into a full-blown narrative storm, where every post, reaction, and rumor is being dissected under a microscope by an audience that seems both entertained and exhausted at the same time. The reaction online has been explosive. Comment sections have turned into battlegrounds of opinion, where users debate intent, interpretation, and impact with a level of intensity usually reserved for major breaking news events. Some users defend Claressa Shields, emphasizing her accomplishments, discipline, and long-standing reputation in a demanding sport. Others, however, focus entirely on the optics of recent posts and interactions, interpreting them as signs of declining judgment in the public eye. But what is often missing in these discussions is the larger context of fame itself. When someone operates at a high level of visibility, every action becomes magnified. A simple post is no longer just a post, it becomes a statement. An image is no longer just an image. It becomes a symbol that people project meaning onto. And in this environment, perception often grows faster than reality. Claressa Shields' career, built on years of training, discipline, and competitive success, remains objectively significant in the world of boxing. She has achieved milestones that place her among the most decorated athletes in her field. However, online discourse rarely focuses on long-term records when short-term drama is available. Instead, attention shifts rapidly toward moments that can be clipped, shared, and debated endlessly. This is where the modern internet culture reveals its true nature. It is not just about what is said or done. It is about how it is interpreted by millions of viewers who each bring their own perspective, bias, and emotion into the conversation. In such an environment, narratives evolve independently of the people they are about. Once a storyline takes shape, it often grows beyond the control of the individuals involved. Meanwhile, commentary creators and online analysts have taken full advantage of the situation, producing breakdowns, reactions, and long-form discussions dissecting every angle. Some frame it as entertainment, others as criticism, and some as cultural commentary. But all of it contributes to the same outcome: the expansion of a digital narrative that shows no sign of slowing down. At the same time, it is important to recognize how quickly online culture turns personal moments into public debate. What might have been intended as a simple expression of confidence or celebration is now being analyzed as a symbolic act carrying layers of meaning that may or may not have ever been intended. This gap between intent and interpretation, is where most online controversies are born. As the discussion continues, the conversation inevitably expands to comparisons. Comparisons between athletes, entertainers, and public figures across different fields. Names are placed side by side, achievements are weighed against popularity, and influence is measured in engagement rather than impact. This comparison culture often reduces complex careers into simplified rankings, ignoring the deeper reality of individual journeys. But beyond all the noise, one thing remains consistent. Public attention is unpredictable. It shifts rapidly, often without warning, and rarely remains focused on one narrative for long. Today's viral controversy becomes tomorrow's forgotten topic, replaced by the next moment that captures collective attention. In the middle of all this, the individuals involved are left navigating a space where personal identity and public perception constantly collide. Every response is scrutinized. Every silence is interpreted. Every post becomes part of a larger story that continues to evolve independently of its original context. And while the internet debates intentions and outcomes, life for the people at the center continues in real time, unaffected by the pace of online commentary. Training continues. Careers progress. Personal relationships evolve. But online, the narrative often freezes individuals in a single moment, replaying it repeatedly as if it defines the entirety of their existence. This is the paradox of modern fame. Visibility brings recognition, but it also removes control over interpretation. Once a moment enters the public space, it no longer belongs entirely to the person who created it. It becomes shared property of the internet, reshaped endlessly by commentary, opinion, and speculation. As the situation develops, one question continues to surface repeatedly across discussions. How much of what we see online reflects reality, and how much of it is simply performance amplified by digital culture? In an era where attention is currency, even controversy becomes a form of engagement. And engagement drives visibility regardless of context. What remains clear, however, is that this story is far from over. New posts, reactions, and interpretations will continue to emerge. The cycle of commentary will continue to expand. And as always, the internet will move forward, leaving behind fragments of narratives that once dominated timelines before being replaced by the next viral moment. So as the discussion continues to unfold, audiences remain divided, opinions remain strong, and the digital spotlight remains firmly fixed on a situation that shows no signs of fading anytime soon. Drop your thoughts below, because in this ever-evolving online landscape, every perspective adds another layer to a story that is still being written in real time.